Uh, Stop me from having to search through the website. Can you point me to where those public comment summaries are? Is it under Advanced Colorado Broadband?
Yes, it should be. And Lauren, oh man, she's good.
Thanks. Yeah, I just dropped it in the chat. We'll make sure it's in the notes as well. But yeah, all the proposals are there, plus the public comment summary.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Anything else before we move on? Okay, then. Let's talk about CPF. As you know, last month we announced CPF awards. As a recap, the state received 112 applications for this grant, totaling $642 million in requested funding. So it was extremely competitive. The CBO announced over $113 million in CPF awards, which will fund 27 projects in 20 counties and nearly 19,000 unserved and underserved locations. So overall, these CPF awards are a major milestone achieved by the team and our stakeholders, and it's something that will significantly move the needle when it comes to connecting those in need of reliable broadband. That being said, there's still a few things that need to happen as far as next steps go. We're currently wrapping up the challenge and appeals process, which will allow us to then work with awardees to execute contracts, and then they'll have until the end of 2026 to complete their projects and spend their funding. And then additionally, we will be implementing a level of oversight to those projects to provide monitoring and really the level of accountability needed for everyone involved. Any questions about CPF? All right, I love it. You all are easy today. Let's wrap it up with ACP. We saw tremendous growth in 2023 with the ACP program. We closed out the year with over 240,000 households enrolled with a goal of 30% participation by the first of the year. And we absolutely knocked it out of the park, coming in at over 31% participation, representing over $7 million in investments. But as I'm sure a lot of you know by now, funding will be exhausted for ACP this spring. And so the process, they're in the process of wrapping up that program. There is some legislation being introduced to extend the program. However, there's still a lot of uncertainty on how all of this will play out. So until we know more, the CBO is committed to exploring alternative affordable solutions to ACP. And of course, we'll keep you updated as we move forward with that effort. So overall, I think looking at all of these milestones, how we ended 2023, I'm immensely proud of these notable achievements by the team. I think it highlights our team's unwavering dedication to narrowing the digital divide. And I think that while there's still a considerable amount of work ahead, we couldn't be any more pleased with our current positioning as we intensify our efforts in 2024. Okay, Sandra Parker. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So because wasn't there enough money allotted for 300,000 households in the state of Colorado? And if only like 240,000 people applied for it, does that money just go to another state, or what happens with that? Or is it just the whole United States that received the money, and it's based on who applied and how much was used in each state?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the question is, I'm not exactly sure, but it is a federally funded program. So these are funds that are available throughout the United States. And I think that it just depends on, as far as who gets to use them, depends on who's participating. What's going to happen with the rest of those funds until it dries up? I guess it's going to continue to fund who's already participating in the program until that funding is used up.
Okay.
Commissioner Salka.
Yes, hey, and Jonas, I sit on the NACO's committee for telecommunications policy committee. So next week I'll be in DC, and we'll be talking on a policy to change to extend the ACP So hopefully that gains some traction. Of course, I urge everyone to contact their representatives and say that you're in support of this. I also sent this to I believe Ms. Sanchez on this information too as well, the amendment on to extend this. But of course, if this is approved and moves forward, we still need to look further than just the extended amount. I believe that was to extend to the end of the year.
Jonas, I can add a little bit more too to
Please
answer
do.
Sandra's question. So, Sandra, there were actually, it was, I believe $14 billion was set aside right after the pandemic, essentially for the whole country to use. In Colorado, there were about 800,000 eligible households, and you were eligible if you, it was an income thing. It was if you qualified for other subsidy programs, but about 800,000 households in Colorado. 247,000-ish are about how many we've enrolled at this time. And we've only seen our numbers steadily increase week over week. At our peak, we were seeing 5,000 households enroll in 1 week. So we really kind of feel like this program was just starting to take off and people were really starting to hear about it and enroll. So of course, CBO stances were really upset that this wasn't extended the first try. I know, we're still working on it, but just to give you an idea of impact to the state of, there's 160,000 households in Colorado that don't have internet. We believe about half of them don't have it because of affordability. That's one of the major reasons people say they don't have internet in the state. So infrastructure is a big deal, but affordability, we're learning, is a really big deal too. So we know it's really important. We're kind of waiting on what happens at the White House to see, what we'll do after that. We'll formulate a plan as well because we know how important it is.
Mhm.
But we're just kind of waiting. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background in terms of what kind of impacts we'll feel here in Colorado. They're pretty big.
Yeah, I know. And we have been giving out, the CWA has been giving out the ACP flyers to people since early last summer when they came out. But I also have a link. I don't know if I'm allowed to put it in this chat or not, but it's a link to sign up, and it takes you right to your congressman or senator to tell them to support it. I mean, I don't know if that's okay to put it in the chat or not.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Jonas, let me know if you disagree, but I think, please share that. And we do plan on sending some more communications through our office to make sure people know what other options they have.
Mhm.
So, I think we can probably include that information on, contact your local senator to advocate for the program. So yeah, go ahead and share it and we can try to include it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Appreciate that. And thank you, Lauren, for the additional information. All right, folks. With that, let's open it up for discussion. We've got some talking points here, some questions to help drive conversation, things that we're interested in knowing more from you. So more about ACP. We want to know about how you are communicating the wrap up of the ACP program to your stakeholders. Anyone want to comment on that? I know, Sandra, you kind of touched on it a little bit. Do you wish to expand on that anymore, or anyone else? Well, okay, then we can keep moving. What about your thoughts on the challenge process? Any feedback on how you can engage your networks to support the NTIA's initiative, and what is the needed increase in participation? What is needed to increase participation?
I think from our side, we still have a couple challenges that we're helping folks put together from various clients of ours. I think the biggest challenge has been the data looks pretty good overall. From everything we've done, I think is pretty great. But the challenge process is also difficult. The proof takes a lot of work to get it all put together for certain eligibility type challenges. What we're finding that most of our effort is trying to tackle projects that we know are under construction and pursuing those under the knowledge that they have to be done by June 30th of this year. Some of them will be half done or 3/4 done by June 30th, and trying to parse that data appropriately so that at least what gets lit is done while the project continues for those that are already funded and already underway. And so that's probably where we're focusing most of our time on, and trying to time that schedule appropriately so that our clients feel comfortable signing the affidavit.
That's super helpful, Nathan. I appreciate that. Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I know this is probably a little bit esoteric. I've been working with Megan a little bit. I was looking and focused in Region 9. I've been helping Shaq out down there. And I was looking at the secondary addresses that are, in the fabric. And I've noticed some secondary addresses which seemed very odd. They didn't seem to line up with locations. They were representing locations with very, very different addresses, and the addresses did not seem to be anywhere near each other, but did seem to identify structures. The thing I was unable to do is determine if that was actually identified addresses that were not identified as part of the fabric and potentially not being included in the eligibility. So if there were addresses that were actually, or locations that were actually being missed, the vast majority of them make a lot of sense, but I ran across about 140 that just seemed a little bit odd. And what I understand is you can't challenge the fabric, right? The fabric is what the fabric is. So any data that's in the fabric, regardless of whether it's erroneous or not, you can't challenge that. Is that correct?
Well, that would be a question for Megan. Have you asked her?
I have been communicating back and forth with her, and she has not specifically addressed that question, but I can pose that question to her. I don't think it represents a significant number of locations. I mean, like I said, about 140 in Region 9. It's just, it seems like there's some erroneous data in the fabric, and it would be good to clean it up. And I don't know what the process would be to try and clean that up.
What do you think, Judd?
Yeah, Ralph. My understanding is the same. You cannot challenge the fabric at this point. You can't add new locations. You can't subtract locations, even if they're wrong.
Yep.
I guess the cleanup on aisle 5 would be to have the ISP or somebody contact the FCC.
Yeah.
Fix the fabric for the next go around, but for the challenge process that we're currently in right now, it's frozen.
Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting, Ralph. Very odd situation. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a little bit of sleuthing, but
Frustrating. But that's how it is.
Anomalies, and I couldn't answer the question, and so anyway.
Okay, as the CBO enters into the next phase of BEAD, what feedback are you hearing from stakeholders that might help us? What is the word on the street?
I think the only thing I'm really hearing too much is they're just seeing that they liked the address point by point, and reverting back to census block is a challenge, especially for some rural areas in the mountainous regions where the census block may have a ridge line running right down the middle of it, and it potentially takes some census blocks out of play because some of the addresses are sustainable and some of them aren't to reach in a single project.
Okay, good info, Nathan. Thank you. We'll definitely jot that down and look into that a little bit more. Anything else? Okay, so moving on to the last topic for discussion. We are planning another roadshow and broadband summit this year. So we'd like to hear from you all as far as what topics that you recommend we focus on. Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that has caught my attention is, and I've brought it up on these calls before as well, is just the extremely high cost thresholds get set. I think that's going to be an important one to be clear about how those are reached. The decisions that get made about those, I think, need to be communicated pretty clearly, because that's an opportunity. Those thresholds will have a very significant effect on what technologies can be used in what regions. And so I just think that's a topic that would be an important one to cover.
No, I agree, Ralph. And Judd and I have started working on with the team on the initial stages of developing those thresholds and understanding what that's going to look like. But I agree. I think that that's one of those decisions that no matter what the decision is, someone is going to be unhappy. So it's really important that we take our time and really thoroughly investigate every detail of the metrics that go into making up what that number is and understanding the impact that it'll have ultimately on the communities and that technology that ends up being used. So to your point, though, one of the things we're going to be doing is working with stakeholders and really inviting them to the conversation and the development of those thresholds to make sure that everyone has a say in this, that we can take into consideration to make sure that we're making a decision that is best for most people.
Yeah, happy to participate in that that process if you'd like.
Absolutely, Ralph. We'll take you up on that. Stay tuned.
All right.
What other topics would you like us to cover this year as we visit your communities and host our next broadband summit?
So, Jonas, what I will add is that, and I was, of course, looking for that link while you were asking about the ACP, that if there is additional funding for that there be more outreach, because it just doesn't seem like there was a lot of outreach through the broadband office to put out those flyers, because every time I went to an event or something and had them with me, nobody hardly knew about it. So I think sometimes we have to meet people where they are and go to the places where they are versus, relying on them to access it on site, just, arbitrarily. So I would like to see that on the roadshow. Would probably be a good place to take those flyers if there's more funding, that is.
No, I agree. I think it's a program that we can't promote enough. And even though we're doing radio interviews, television interviews, nonstop social media promoting and flyers, I think that the road shows and the summit would be another incredible opportunity to reach people. So great idea. We'll definitely take that into consideration and see what we can do to better promote the program if there is additional funding. Thank you for that. What else? All right, then. If there are no other topics, happy to take any questions. And if you all don't have anything now, feel free to email myself or Brandy, and we'll be sure to get back with you and assist any way that we can. Other than that, I want to thank all of you again for your participation, your feedback. It's extremely valuable to us, and we take it serious. Yes, Sandra.
I'm sorry. So when did you say when the volume 1 and 2 will be approved by the NTIA? Is there a time frame for that?
So volume 1 has been approved. I think that was approved on January 3rd, I believe. Volume 2 is currently under the approval process with the NTIA, and we are expecting that to be approved shortly.
Okay, like this month or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hope so.
All right. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, if anything else comes up, feel free to email myself or Brandy, anyone on the team. Thank you again for all of your collaboration and feedback. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll chat again next month. Thanks all.
Thank you.